It was round about 1947 when Dad moved into the job of storekeeper for the council down in the Butts, and they built a flat behind the offices there for us to live in. There was a room for my sister, a room for me, a room for Mum and Dad, bedrooms they were, a dining room, a kitchen, a bathroom and toilet and so on. And we got access to that via the big Woods building. Our windows looked down over the Butts yard, and quite often I would take in what was going on down there. I was allowed free access to the whole of the yard, so I could go and talk to the various tradespeople, getting things ready for various things like repair of housing, gritting roads, and their main job, of course, was getting the refuse from houses, and all the lorries, the refuse lorries, were parked up the yard underneath the arches of the railway viaduct. Right by the entrance gate, just the other side of the wall there, was his rose garden. He also had a tub. This tub was fed from the roof of the little brick building. No light in it, so he grew mushrooms inside there. But once all the fish in the river were coming down, gasping for breath with their mouths at the top of the water, big fish, little fish, and no one knew why. But Dad had realised when he'd gone down and had a look, there was some great big eels with a thickness of your arm just tucked under the bank there, gasping for breath. So he went down with a net and he caught himself some big eels and he put them in that tub, that water butt. And he waited to find out what had caused all this when he realised that it was that the oxygen levels in the water had been reduced by lightning storms apparently. And so there was no poison involved, no pollution, and we boiled up these eels and ate them.
The gate was pretty well level with where the corporation wall was, sort of thing. Then you went about 10 or 15 foot to the houses, and then the path swung round and went in the front of the houses from top to bottom, sort of thing. There was just one room and the kitchen was on the left, and I think the stairs were at the far end, and there was a latch door with the fireplace on your right hand side, and my grandmother had a chaise lounge underneath the window, and I remember a shelf across the top, and then she had a sideboard at the far end with two jugs on, which my cousin in Birmingham's got now. But I can only remember seeing my granddad upstairs, the once in bed sort of thing, after he'd had a stroke.
I'll tell you something about Netherton Lane. There was no litter around. All the rubbish was burnt on the fire in that. And in the square, they used to have lines like that where the neighbours used to hang the washing.
We had a pole.
Yeah, there was a pole out there.
They used to dance when the maypole years gone by, but we still had the maypole, but we didn't do the dancing.
Back of a little bit of garden, I'll call it, was their yard, was the arches. The first arch, this man rented it, and he had old iron in that in there. We used to get in there and have a look and see if there was anything good in there. And then there was Mr. Blake. He used to chop wood, bundle it up and make bundles of wood, but he worked on the wrong way, he did. Then came Mr. Gray, and he had his own caravan there. He built caravans, he did there then. And then there was a man and a woman, and they used to have a great big tub outside on a chair and boiling hot water, and they used to have jars and that and bottles and soak the labels off, wash the bottles and sell them. And then the other arches, men used to have to mend cars and that, and I think they still do to this day. I used to love the arches. Mum said, don't go in the arches, you don't know where.
The courting couples went there, you see.
And when the Yanks was there, they used to go and have sex, and then we used to find money on the floor. We thought it was heaven, we did. Our house, which was number 2, was really the worst one of the lot. And Mr. Blake, he was the one who had the bundles of wood in the archway, but he was also a train driver. And he used to see us at bed, used to come level with the window. You could see us in bed, and he used to shout, wakey, 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 wakey. This house of ours, it was really old, and the window blew out. So we had to tie it back in, didn't we?
Yeah. Dad never thought of reporting it.
No, no reporting. Well, I think I was about 28 or something when I left there, when they condemned the houses.
I saw this advert in the Evening News and Times for a markets assistant. I got 3 references. I had one from Arthur G. Griffiths, the auctioneers. I had one from Mr. Till was the superintendent. And I got one from a haulier. And the outcome was I got the job. I was about 18 or 19.
So that's about 1930.
Yeah. The Roundhouse, there was 5 offices in the Roundhouse. Mr. Henry Combs, auctioneer, Arthur G. Griffiths, auctioneer, and Bentley Hobbs and Mitten, auctioneers. And the other little office was Jackson Supporters Mill. In the centre there was a table, quite a long table, which all the farmers used to use to write their cheques and see the auctioneers. And then, of course, you see, there was the paraphernalia of winding the clock. Hunts up in the High Street, they had a man that used to come down. Oh, after some time, he came to me and said, "Look, I shall not be winding the clock anymore." So I said, well, what's going to happen then? He said, "I don't know." He said, "I'll tell you the truth, I can't go up the ladder. The ladder went up into the cupola. It was quite a height. I could appreciate. Maybe he didn't like going up there. So I took it upon myself. And from the day I left, I still wound that clock. Occasionally, you'd have to put a penny on the pendulum because the clock would either lose or gain. So we had a dose of coins there, so we used to put a couple of coins on the pendulum to bring it back. September 19, the Happen Ram Fair. Upwards of 6, 7, 8,000, I don't know, sheep in the market. The sheep used to come on the roads all over. Mr. Brable, look, he lived at Ambrose Farm up St. John's. He walked nearly 200 sheep by road, down St. John's, up the new road, over the bridge, down into the quay, and up into the butts. It was a pantomime, that was.
We'd go to town and Dad would always take me, because I love going to the cattle market, so he'd take me down to the cattle market, which is down the butts. The nearer you got, you could hear the sheep and the cows and everything. When I was very small, it was hard for me to look over, so Dad used to lift me up and he used to put me on, it was like a wooden rail that went between the pens, and he used to walk me across the wooden rails by hand so that I could actually be nearly as high as the cattle market trader man. And then we used to turn around and we used to go and have a cup of tea or something in a little cabin that was actually in the middle of the market on stilts. I can remember it being on stilts. And then after the cup of tea, Dad said, "Do you want to go in the shed?" And there was like a cattle shed. And I said, "Yeah, that'd be great." So he used to go in the cattle shed and he used to take me round and he used to say, "These very small calves here," he said, "if you put your hand near their mouth, they will suck you." I used to say, "No, I can't do that, Dad." He said, "Yes, you can. I'll do it first and I'll show you what to do." And then he used to show me and I used to do it, and it was really good fun. And he used to just talk me around all the animals, and we used to see the pigs and everything, which were indoors. You'd have all the market railings where all the sheep were and all the cattle. What fascinated me more was the pigs, the big pigs that you used to have running around. The pens were massive also. They were all iron, really thick iron ones. And it used to smell. And you used to get somebody watering it down sometimes, like hosing it down.
We went to school at 3 because they said that would help our mum. We were twins, like, and an older sister. It was a mixed school, and the boys were there till they were 7. And then they had to go to St. Martin's School in Worcester.
We had red velvet dresses on.
Red velvet dresses, didn't we?
Our teacher, she was a footballer, you know, and
When I did games.
games and all that, and she used to take us down to the cattle market, and that's where we done our netball and our football and all that. She used to take us swimming as well, and believe me, she was strict. Opposite us used to live the Laniers, and they were the ice cream people. Lena used to stand outside Pitchground with a truck and sell wafers. She used to do wafers like this, you know. Lovely it was.
On a corner.
Yeah, on a corner, but it was mostly wafers. And what was left over they gave us.
I remember going to the Public Works Sports and Social Club, which were in the Arches off Croft Road. I remember going with my uncle there. You could get in from the yard, or you could get in from the Croft Road. Obviously he used to go in through the back way, through the yard. Used to play skittles and things like that down there, darts, skittles. When that closed, they went and had a building where the Russell and Dorrells building has been built now, that's just closed, on the corner of All Saints and Newport Street. It was like a Portakabin type building, if I remember. And there was a big wall, and when I was a kid I used to sit on there and collect bus numbers, because it was a bus depot there on Newport Street where all the buses changed, and we used to the numbers on the back of the bus, and Midland Reg used to issue a booklet. What pleasure we saw in that I don't know, but we sat for hours.